All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kodash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders, great millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rakalia from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. I don't have a title for this lesson as of right now. But I had some audio resurface on my phone recently from this guy David Goldberg, which is some audio that was circling around the Brotherhood quite frequently about 6, 7 years ago, and it's going into Esau's plan to neutralize truth speakers, all right, especially those on YouTube who have been exposing the plan and the agenda of the elites, all right, which we understand, really to be talking about us, the prophets of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, starting with our elders, apostles on down. All right, because the true truth speakers, all right, have came from the Lord's prophets, the Lord's mouthpiece, which is his prophets. All right, truth has stemmed, all right, from this ministry. All right, the truth regarding the plan and the wicked devices of the elites. All right, the truth regarding who Esau Edom is, that man of sin, the son of perdition, spoken about in Second Thessalonians, the second chapter. All right, the truth regarding who Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are on the earth, and who the Lord truly is. All right, especially the truth concerning prophecy and the downfall of America, Babylon the Great, in the next world's war, all right, which is going to be waged between America, all right, Israel, Russia, China, and Iran and its conglomerates. All right, and that truth has been exposing and really toppling Esau Edom's kingdom. Because as this information and as this truth is being brought out, as that vibration of the Lord is being preached, has been preached, all right, this kingdom has been toppling, it's been crumbling, ever since our apostles and their elders, all right, came on the scene, with the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And right now we're in the midst of a great information age, and Esau is losing it terribly. Esau is losing the great information age. He's essentially, created his own whipping stick, his own downfall through the internet. Which it was all the device of the Lord at the end of the day. He wanted it to be a tool, for control, and the Lord is using it against him. To expose his wicked devices and counsels. I want to get this here in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4. And I'm going to play that audio. That audio is about 26 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole 26 minutes, but I'm going to play the audio, Lord willing, after we grab these precepts. Lord willing to edify unto your elect. All right, and we already understand how Esau works. He feigns himself to be a god. So just like the Heavenly Father, he he puts out, prophecies. He says things before he's going to do it. He gives out information subtly, as if he were God. Just like the words of the Lord. Just as the words of the Lord are, just as the Lord said the word, and we're witnessing it being performed. Esau tries to mimic the same thing, by having his left hand prophets, and putting out, sly information, to the public, so that when things come to pass, he can say that he predicted it, he predicted these things to come to pass. We're all, hey, look, check this out, man. You know, we're not ignorant to Satan's devices. You know, he can't get an advantage of us, all right, because the Lord has given us the bird's eye view, through the Spirit. This is 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. I just want to see what that says in the NLT. 2 Corinthians 2 and verse 11 in the NLT. It says, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. And that's beautiful. All right, we're familiar with the evil schemes of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, chiefly the elites of Esau Edom, going into your Rockefellers, your DuPonts, your Gettys, your Oppenheimers, all right, and all those who control and mismanage the resources. All right, we're not, they can't outsmart us, with their evil schemes, because the Lord has given us the jump on these evil schemes through prophecy, which is why prophecy is the focal point, especially here in these latter days, because prophecy exposes this devil, and exposes his intents, and it also exposes the will of the Lord, the true will of the Lord. But let's get this in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4. It says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." All right, and as you're going to hear in this audio, one of the things that is frustrating Esau Edom's enterprise is the influx of information, the influx of knowledge that's being pushed through the interweb, especially on YouTube concerning the evil schemes and devices of the elites. It's frustrating their purposes, so they're coming up with these, ideas, these schemes such as Project Pogo and Project Zephyr, which are going it's like you had a call in the middle of recording. But as you're going to hear in the audio, um, Project Pogo and Project Zephyr are set in place to essentially eliminate those truth speakers, all right, which we understand to be, ultimately the prophets of Yahweh or Hashem Yahweh Shai, who have been bringing this great influx of information, to the internet, and which is causing this great awakening, that's taking place in today's day and age. So once again, this is Daniel 12 and 4. It says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." All right, once again, we're in that information age, and Esau is losing that information age terribly. All right, now I'm going to play this audio after we're done getting these precepts. The audio is about 26 minutes long. I don't know how long of the audio I'm going to play, but we're going to grab these precepts, and then we're going to play the audio. Lord, and this is edifying unto your elect. I wanted to get this here in Jeremiah 49 and 10, because this precept is starting to speak more and more, in the days that we're living in. This is Jeremiah 49 and 10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." All right, and as it stands, the Lord is making Esau bare. All right, the Lord has uncovered all of Esau's hiding places, secret places, and there's nowhere else that the so-called white man can hide. All right, he can't hide behind these different nationalities: Russian, Ukrainian, American, French, Spaniard, Australian. Okay, he can't hide behind these different aliases anymore. All right, because the truth about the nations that the Lord created from the foundation is being brought out. And the Lord only created 17 nations. The Lord didn't create these different amalgamation of nations like the so-called white man to have you believe, in order to hide himself under that veil, under that cover, under that disguise of different names. The Lord only created 17 nations, and the so-called white man as a whole makes up the nation of Edom, all right, from their respective tribes, just like the nation of Israel, all right, which are predominantly made up of Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. All right, but when it comes to the nation of Israel, all right, our nation has been scattered amongst different nations, so Israelites may come back looking and speaking like different nations, but their spirit, if their spirit or seed line goes back to the nation of Israel, they are in fact the Israelite. If they resonate with this word, they're an Israelite. But Jeremiah 49 and 10, it says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." Okay, and we're in that age of the exposing of Edom, the exposing of that man of sin and that son of perdition, which had to happen before the great and terrible day of the Lord. All right, before the Lord will make his return. All right, it was outlined in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. All right, for the so-called white man to be revealed. All right, that man of sin, the son of perdition. He had to be revealed before that great and terrible day, that great and dreadful day of the Lord. He had to be revealed. All right, and we're in the midst of that revelation as we speak. Okay, and as we're in the midst of that revelation, excuse me, truth is flourishing. All right, truth is being caused to flourish in the planet Earth. Like you're going to hear in the audio, which is frustrating the purposes of Esau, Edom. This is Second Esdras chapter 6, and I'm gonna start at verse 27. It says, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched." And right now, deceit is being quenched. All right, there is no more fire and deceitfulness. All right, the words of the Lord are watering down that fire, quenching that fire of deceit. Truth is flourishing. It says, "As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared." All right, and the truth which has been so long without fruit, is now being declared through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai. At one point in time, it was a commonality, to speak deceit, to follow along and to play in and to buy in to this American deceit, and now we're not living in that time anymore. Really, nobody's buying into that American mirage anymore. Everybody is seeing America and the elites for who they truly are, and what it truly is. America is a business that's forwarded by trauma and debauchery. Judgment is perverted, and all manner of wickedness is allowed. And the elites are been mismanaging and misappropriating the resources ever since they came in power. And the people are now starting to get fed up with that because the knowledge is returning unto them. And just as it says in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, knowledge maketh a wise man mad. Much wisdom maketh a wise man mad, roughly paraphrasing. But it says, "As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which has been so long without fruit, shall be declared." All right, right now we're living in that time of the declaration of truth, the declaration of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai. All right, we're in that great age of declaration. Okay, because as the so-called white man proceeds to fill up his belly, with his different enterprises and devices, it is foretold, for the Lord to cast him down in the midst. This is Job chapter 20, and verse 22. It says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, the heavenly Father shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and he shall rain it upon him while he is eating." All right, and just about when the so-called white man, it feels like he's about to accomplish his enterprises, he's got, the men of the Lord snatched up. He's got them detained in these different camps. He has that mark pushed, throughout the bulk of society. Just when he thinks he's about to reach the height of his reign, the Lord is going to cast him down. And we're living in that time, man. We're living in that time. All right. We're living in that time. And that's why the Lord said in Romans the 13th chapter in the 11th verse, he said, our salvation is nearer than when we believe. Now is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And brothers might have a time frame in their head, try to calculate, but the Lord is moving on an even quicker timetable than that, man, through the Spirit. But without further ado, I'm going to get into this audio. I'm going to play this audio for you. Lord, when this is edifying unto you elect, once again, the truth is first frustrating the purposes of Esau, Edom, which is ultimately why he's going to come down with that great wrath spoken about in Revelation, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse. The devil is going to come down with great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. And the reason why he knows he has but a short time is because the Lord has put the prophets back on the scene. All right. The Lord has put the prophets back on the scene. And he's already received that vision from CERN, telling him that his kingdom has been numbered, just like Nebuchadnezzar. All right. His kingdom has been numbered. Okay. And the prophets have been set up to hold that testimony against him. It's like to hold that testimony against him, man. With that being said, Lord, when it's edifying, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kodash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom.
Hello everyone, this is David Kohlberg again. This is probably going to be one of my most important videos that I've done yet. We're going to discuss a couple of things, new things that have come up. I have received classified documents from my White House insider, and we also have some memos that I've referenced in the past, and I'm going to walk through everything that I've been deciphering and learning from these videos. From the documents that I've received. So, we'll get into this. The crux of it, I want to just introduce you right away. What is it all about? This is it. This is what the documents reveal. There are too many people waking up. There are too many Americans, more and more of them, that are suspicious of Israel. More and more Americans aware of Zionism. This has been around for decades and decades. You go back to the 50s, 60s, there's a lot of literature about Zionism, about Judaism. It's not unusual, but the difference is today, more and more people are waking up to it. It's been a real tipping point where you always had maybe about 0.5% of the population that was aware of Zionism, that did not like Jews and whatnot, but they were never part of the mainstream. They were always dismissed as conspiracy theorists. They had no influence. So they were not really a threat. But that has changed. And you know that has changed. Anyone paying attention knows that has changed. We have seen a big change in comment sections on YouTube, many people making references to Zionism. It has become a part of the nomenclature through the influence of 8chan, 4chan, many websites, and ultimately many YouTube channels that have been speaking the truth very aggressively for many years, but it has really gotten attention lately. It is somewhat of a cumulative effect, a snowball effect, where more and more people start to wake up to the truth and the facts, and it just expands. And people become more accepting of it. And they start to say, okay, it's okay for me to look at the information. I'm not an anti-Semite for looking at it. And it really starts to click for people. So this has been a big change in the recent past few years. What happened is that Israel, its agents, its propagandists, have been paying very close attention to this over the past few years. They know this is happening. They are very concerned about it. We are talking about 0.5% of Americans who have some idea of Zionism and they're against it and they understand it. That number, according to these documents, is now about, I saw two numbers. They said 15%, and another one said 7%, but that is a very large number of Americans that have woken up to what's going on with Israel and Zionism and the Israeli lobby and the influence. They're unafraid to hate Israel. That number is very high, and it has them very concerned. This is much of what the classified documents talk about, but we'll get into that more. I wanted to set it up for you so you actually understand what this is really about. What I was given from the White House insider. The main part that you really need to know, though, is they have a plan for all of this. So I'm going to talk about that now. There is discussion within these documents years ago to ban the YouTube channels, to shut it down, all of that. But they changed course. They made a decision to do something completely different, and they decided instead of censoring everything, to fund and promote gatekeeper channels, shill channels, to simply gather and collect all the open-minded people who are looking at the issue. And they did shut down some of the legitimate channels, and that has actually happened. If you're following some of that, you are aware that there have been channels that have been shut down, almost completely eliminated. Some of those channels were not a part of the original gatekeeper channels. They have no connection. They are truth-telling channels. Some of those they've eliminated that they felt were a threat or that might be calling out the gatekeeper channels. So, I'm just looking through some of the documents here and seeing what I want to talk about next. One really interesting aspect of all this is that the gatekeeper channels and the shill channels, typically these would be disinfo channels. Disinfo channels like Alex Jones, for example, has been a long time disinfo Zionist channel. Very, very active in deflecting people away from Zionism. Alex Jones talks about everything, but he never talks about Israel. So that is an active disinfo channel that's been around forever. What they created with these new gatekeeper channels is very truthful channels. They're very honest. They don't put out a lot of disinfo. They are actually legitimate. And that is done to give them credibility among these people who are awake, who are waking up. That was very specifically done, the documents to talk about that. Now I'm going to talk about what is the purpose of the whole operation. And the purpose of this is to put out truthful channels, to attract people to them. They call it tag, track, and ID. It is a term used throughout the documents, TTID. It's something you want to remember. This is very common throughout these documents. They're referred to it all the time. So what does that tell you? They want to tag, they want to track you, and they want to identify who you are. If you are watching these channels, if you are informed, if you are awake on these issues, they want to tag you, they want to track you, and they want to know exactly who you are. They want to know, and it talks about the tracking people's IP addresses through YouTube. They have access to YouTube. They do know who you are. So this is discussed a lot in the documents. I'm just looking through it right now. And there are two projects, and it's very important to listen to this. Project Pogo is one of them, and Project Zephyr. I will spell that one. ZYPHR. Project Pogo and Project Zephyr are the two projects that the classified documents are referring to, and each has a different role. Project Pogo is about the YouTube gatekeepers, how they are all agents. They are all paid to put out truthful information so that they can tag, track, and ID the people that are watching the videos and giving them likes and giving them comments. They're tracking all of it. Project Zephyr is a different project, and that's what I'll talk about in a bit. That is the second stage here. That is coming up. And that is the extermination. They're going to exterminate these people, whether it is tag them for anti-Semitic speech, charge them with crimes, eliminate them completely, and this is where I'll talk about in the documents where they talk about guillotines, viral attacks, targeted, how they're going to eliminate these people without too much suspicion, without too many people noticing. But here's the problem. As I read the documents, I can see I have documents from 4 years ago, I have documents from 2 years ago, and then I have documents from 3 months ago. So there's a progression in the timeline as the projects change. And Project Zephyr has changed. In the beginning, they were talking a lot about, okay, we are going to infect these people with a virus that imitates the flu virus. They're going to eliminate them in various ways that would not be suspicious. In the documents I have now from 3 months ago, they are saying the amount of people they have to eliminate is too large. It is too many. We are talking about millions of Americans. And this is where we see their plans are changing. And they are going to initiate something that is devastating and that is extremely frightening. And based on what I can see in the documents, we're talking about power outages along with a purge. They're going to come in, they're going to take you out of your home, and they're going to put you into a military vehicle or whatever, a van, and drive you away and place you into a camp. It is a very, very big operation that they're planning. It is millions of Americans. They will do it under the cover of night, under the cover of blackness, during one of these planned blackouts. The blackouts are, based on documents, I'm just looking at it right now, they have a 3-day blackout, they have a nationwide blackout that lasts 2 days, and a lot of localized blackouts. So it is a whole series of blackouts that they're going to do. And of course it will be blamed on all kinds of things. They might blame it on Iran. I have seen that mentioned in the documents. They've already prepped people for this. There are going to be more blackouts. They're already predictive programming. So we may see more of this as we go on. As far as I can tell from Project Zephyr, or Zephyr, they are planning this next year and the year after. They are not done tagging, tracking, and identifying everyone. It looks like they're at about 78%. I looked in the documents, and there were a couple of indications of far along they feel the project is. They're like 78% done, but they're not completely done. It does take time to identify a YouTube account and then track it to the email that it was created with and then the IP address and then find out who created it. It does take them a lot of time to do that. It is not instant. It does take a lot of research because a lot of people create a YouTube account with an email address that doesn't give any indication of who they are, an account name that doesn't have their full name on it. They don't use their real pictures. So it is a challenge for them, and that's why the project has been going on for so long. But it is coming to a close. In the next 6 months to a year, it appears it is coming to a close, and that is when Project Zephyr will be initiated. So I have some notes here. I'm going to continue on, talk a little bit more about right. They're being tracked. They're being identified. That's the whole point. A lot of people have said, well, why are some of these YouTube channels allowed to exist? Why are they allowed to so openly talk about the truth? And some of you might know Adam Green, No More News, and there are a whole bunch of others, and they're very, very open about Zionism, and they're very honest about it, and they're telling the truth. I mean, they are telling the truth. They're not hiding anything. They're not disinfo. They're not putting disinfo out there. But as far as I know, they're all a part of this operation. I can't say specifically if Adam Green is a part of it or not, but I would assume possibly he is. He has probably been guaranteed a lot of money. He's probably been promised a lot of things. He could be a Freemason. He could be a part of their operation. He could be an agent. I don't know. I have no idea. It is total speculation on my part. I have no idea All I know is this is part of the operation, what they want to do. His channel would fit into the MO. It is an example I'm giving. He is there to tag, track, and ID. Not him specifically, but the people behind the operation who are doing all the research and all the people who are commenting and viewing and liking. They want to know who they are, they want to know where they live, and they are going to eliminate them at a date in the future. Completely eliminate them. This is going way beyond the idea of passing laws to ban speech, which they're already doing. They've done it in America already, but not very aggressively, and we will see more legislation of that nature. But they want to completely eliminate these people because they do stand in the way of the agenda. There are too many people that are waking up. It is way too many for them to handle. They're starting to have an influence, and they're starting to change the conversation online. It is of grave concern to Israel. Something that the memos that I received, we'll talk a little bit about the memos. The memos are different from the classified documents. The memos are White House internal memos that discuss a wide range of things in terms of Trump's meeting with rabbis, discussions with Netanyahu over the phone. And one of the memos says that Donald Trump will have to declare himself king of Israel publicly. This is part of the process for them. It doesn't. There's no strategic reason for it. It is symbolic for them. Trump is going to declare himself king of Israel at some point. I don't know how, but they're talking about it in these memos over and over again. When he's going to do it, why they want him to do it, which again is symbolic. It has no strategic purpose, apparently. It is part of the process of the end game, basically, is what I'm saying. So we'll see if that happens or not. It sounds ridiculous. I can't imagine him actually saying it. But maybe he will do something like that. We will look out for that in the coming months. Based on my reading of the classified documents and the memos, so much of what is going on is planned. They've given people the impression that Trump has brought chaos to politics, but it's actually the opposite. It has been planned. Donald Trump's allegiance is to Israel. He's not only a Jew, he is a Freemason. They have promised him, his daughter, the sons, will enjoy very high-level ranking within the world government that they are forming, the capital which will be Jerusalem. So that is why Trump is so dedicated to following the script, while performing the way that he does. It appears to be very authentic to his followers. Everything he's done, talking about the wall to the fake news, was scripted from the beginning at around 2014 and 2015. And according to some of the memos I'm reading, he loved it. They introduced all of this to him and he loved it. They told him the plan. You're going to become president. You're going to say this and this and this. He loved it. He's already a little bit of a racist. He's already predisposed to some of this rhetoric. So he loved it. He jumped on board. And they promised him great things, especially for his family, if he were to follow through on these things and simply follow their script. And he does have leeway. He has leeway to say many things that he wants to say. He has a lot of fun doing this. But he does have script writers, and there's one of the script writers, I forget his name. He's bald guy. I want to remember his name. It's important to say it. Well, he is a big part of this. He writes a lot of Trump's tweets. He crafts a lot of it. Oh, I cannot remember. I'm going to have to look him up right now. Trump's speech writer. Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller has a big role in all of this. He is a dedicated Zionist. He has a lot to do with a lot of this. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, if you want to find out who's really behind it, Stephen Miller is a big part of it. So that is the whole of it. I want to get this video out. I want people to hear it. I want people to know what's going on. I've had some strange things going on in my house. I've noticed black SUVs. I mentioned it before. They're still there. I still see them every once in a while. The other day, I went out to try to approach one, to confront them. Like, what are you doing here? I know you're here. And they drove off. As right when I opened the door, and I look outside, I see them drive off. So, I don't know, maybe it's just coincidence that they were leaving and they saw, I don't know, but it seemed like they were very, very prepared to get out of there. So the next time I see them, I'm going to confront them quickly and make sure that they don't have time to get out of there before I have a chance to get down there, and at least they see me coming for them. I will try again. But I have seen them mostly at night. I open the window, I look out the window, and that is when I see them mostly. So I want to confront them. I'm tired of the harassment. I know they're watching me. I assume I'm bugged. I assume there's some way to hear what I'm saying, but I don't care anymore. I have been given the documents. I have been tasked with this duty to get the information out. I'm going to do it in any way that I can. I have given my friends copies of all of these. I have stored them in different places. I have a dead man switch in case something were to happen to me. So I've done my best to prepare because I feel like this is getting very serious. I mean, the documents they show me are terrifying. The plan that they have in place. I would expect they have this plan of gatekeeping and tracking people, but they're going to take it to a new level with Project Zephyr. They're going to take it to a new level. They're going to exterminate these people, one by one, through the blackouts. I mean, it says in the classified documents they're planning to pick them up. They're just going to physically pick them up. They're also going to use all kinds of other means to eliminate them. Not just the high-value targets are going to be picked up. The lower-value targets will be given viruses, targeted viruses, that activate either right away or over time. They don't want it to be too obvious that all of a sudden a whole bunch of Americans get sick. Of course, there will be official stories in the news media. Okay, there's a flu outbreak, which indicates to me this will probably happen in winter. Not this winter, but possibly the winter of 2020, 2021. From what I'm reading from the documents, that is the timeline. It is not specific, but that is where I feel it's going to be, because they want to do a flu outbreak, and it will make sense in winter, and people won't question it. They have to eliminate a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people, high value of targets. It's going to be so many people that disappear that people will ask questions, so they have their cover stories, and they're getting them ready, and they got them in place. If this were a few 100,000 people, they could do it, but it is millions and millions of Americans that they want to eliminate. I think it's 15 million. Based on what I'm reading in these documents and some of the numbers they've used, which has not been totally specific about it, but it looks like 15 million. But it could even be more. They want to eliminate them completely. Because it's becoming a problem. And it has been a problem for a few years, and this is their solution to it. In addition to that, they want the world government, they want all of these plans to move forward. They cannot have opposition, because the things that are going to happen are going to be very, very radical. You're going to see the dissolution of the United States of America. You're going to see world leaders and the media endorsing something that is so crazy, and that is the dissolution of the United States of America. And the endorsement of a world government seated in Israel. A lot of Americans aren't going to accept that, but they have to eliminate the people who are going to call out what's really going on. From my reading of the documents, how they're going to roll all of this out and justify the dissolution of the United States and many other countries as well It appears their plan is to do all countries at once. He's going to be under the cover of financial collapse. Well, we have to do the world government. We're all going to die because the financial system is broken down. That is something that is talked about in the classified documents. That ultimately will be the cover story after they do the purge and eliminate the dissidents, the people who are woken up to Zionism. There will be a total financial meltdown, and they will say, look, we have to do the world government. We have to come together. We have to create this new currency. We have no choice. The chaos is too serious. It'll be probably 6 months of complete financial chaos. Food shortages, rise in crime. Many, many people will die. Millions and millions of people will also die from this. And then they will justify it and say, look, we have to do the world government. So, that is what's going on. I'm about done. I'm going to do another video. I have more things coming up. I have a lot more planned because there's more in the documents that I need to discuss. I'll be back with another video soon. Thank you for listening, and I'll do more soon.